This is Philosophy 4, Knowledge at Las Positas College. This is our third lecture on the philosophy of Sextus and his skepticism. Last time we talked about several of the methods that Sextus wants to use to get us to doubt everything so that we can suspend judgment and, in his view, live in peace when we stop worrying about ultimately what's true and what's not true. Now, last time we skipped this, which is mode 2 and mode 4, ad infinitum and hypothesis. These deserve some extra time, and so we'll spend some extra time on these. So first we'll start with the definition. Ad infinitum is a claim that the process of proof goes on forever, thus nothing is ever fully proven. Because I can always ask for proof of whatever you give me as proof, that's an interminable process, and it looks like no claim is ever fully defended. Hypothesis, we can think of it as the only way on Sextus's view to stop ad infinitum is when we just accept some claim without proving it. But then Sextus will say, okay, if you accepted that claim without proof, then why should I believe it? So this process is going to be pretty important for helping me understand a lot of philosophy that goes on later that tries to solve this problem. And the problem endures into contemporary epistemology. So let's start with some very simple claim. How about the sky is blue? Looks like a relatively safe claim to make, but Sextus is going to want to say, well, how do I know the sky is blue? Well, how do you know that the sky is blue? And I'm not going to give up there. So I might say, how do I know the sky is blue? Because I saw it, and I remember. Okay, seems like a good enough reason. I know the sky is blue because I've seen the sky, and I remember seeing the sky. But of course, Sextus is not going to give up there either, and he's going to say something like, okay then, if you think this claim is supported by this claim, then let's challenge this claim. How do you know that your memory works right? And Sextus might be starting to annoy me at this point, but I'm not ready to give up. So I say, well, I remember that it worked always in the past, and Sextus is going to say, okay, if you think this is evidence, a foundation for this claim, which is a foundation for this claim, let me ask you then about that claim. And the question I'm going to ask is kind of the same question. How do you know your memory was working then? And it looks like I'm already sort of starting to repeat myself with the explanations that I have. How do I know my memory works? Well, because I remember that it works, because I remember. It looks like I don't have that much further to go, but this could go on forever. And so rather than sort of trying to think of more proof that my memory works, maybe at some point I just say, Sextus, you're driving me crazy. I just know it works. My memory works. Now this is what Sextus is going to call an hypothesis. It's an hypothesis Now, hypothesis for Sextus is not the same as the scientific method hypothesis, right? In a way, it's the opposite. In scientific method, hypothesis is a educated guess that you're trying to gather evidence for and ultimately verify. For Sextus, hypothesis is just something that you assert with no proof as absolutely knowable and not needing any proof, right? So in that sense, it's the opposite of the scientific hypothesis. But you can see why I might be driven to this if Sextus is going to say, just keep asking me, how do you know, how do you know, how do you know, what's your evidence for your evidence? It looks like this could go on forever, and so at some point I might just say, okay, this is something that we just plain know. But Sextus is going to say, ha, I got you. If you don't have any evidence, then why should I believe you? So that's the basic process of ad infinitum and its relationship to hypothesis. Ad infinitum, Sextus will say, well, anything you try to prove is just going to go on forever because I'm going to ask for proof of your proof, and so you never actually finish proving what you intended to show in the first place. Then with hypothesis, if somewhere along the line you say, we just know that, it's just true, accept it, Sextus will say, why should I accept it? Because it's something that you accept without proof. If you can't offer me any proof, why should I believe that what you claim is true? What do you think about this idea from Sextus? Would you disagree with Sextus and say some things can just be taken as certain, even if we can't give additional evidence for them? That's just what the rational person does. Would you agree with Sextus and his original claim that we just can't really know anything because there's limitations to our knowledge? Or might there be some third option? Might there be some other way to take my system of beliefs and show that they can all be supported while avoiding the infinite regress with a different proof strategy? We'll see the coherence theorists will try to do this in a few weeks as we continue our reading in the class.